everybody, it's your boy Moski, back with another video. Today's video is a reaction video to The Last of Us Episode 3 Full Breakdown Ending Explained. I need more information on this episode because it was different from the video game, but somewhat similar. But this guy, he helps me a lot of explaining what's going on in Episode 3, and I can't wait for Episode 4. So hopefully enjoy my reaction. Here we go.
I'm the same way.
Oh, you're a paranoid schizophrenic too?
I'm not schizophrenic.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Last of Us Episode 3 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references to the game, so we'll break it all down. It's probably going to go down as one of the best episodes of the series, and probably one of the best episodes.
It was like a romantic type of episode instead of action-packed
I'm doing videos for all the
I'm
episodes.
used to in Last of Us.
Subscribe to get them all. We're doing a giveaway for HBO Max subscriptions. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just post your favorite moment from the episode on the video.
Not gonna lie, the traps that they had, it was pretty cool.
We'll go through shot by shot talking about
I actually like that all those traps.
Starting
pretty creative.
with the episode title, Long, Long Time, a reference to the Linda Ronstadt song that Frank and Bill played for each other, which is all about surviving in general, being alone, human relationships, being in love.
I'm gonna turn off the captions.
The big theme of the episode and just of the Last of Us series in general. Trying to survive, allowing yourself to be open to human relationships, creating close bonds with each other. The opening scene of the episode is of Joel and Ellie right after the events of episode 2, with Joel soothing his wounded hand nearby in a stream and constructing a pyramid out of rocks from the stream. The rock tower he's building is just meant to be a memorial to Tess.
Yeah,
like his
I had
way
a
of
feeling.
eulogizing her, remembering her, because he's trying to push past all these negative emotions, all this sadness inside him. That's the big thing with his character. Like, he doesn't want to have anything to do with dealing with his feelings. There'll be no therapy in this episode
I feel
or
bad for
future
Joel,
episodes
man. He
anytime
lost
soon.
his daughter
That's
first,
one of the big differences
then he
with
lost
Ellie's
Tess.
character, is that she wants to open up. She wants to talk about
And
all
now,
these really hard
he has
things,
to take
these
care of her
traumatic things
now,
that
and it's
happen to
gonna,
them.
like,
But Joel
reminisce
doesn't want
of
to
his
deal
own
with any of
daughter.
that stuff right now, at
That
least.
sucks.
Just gonna tamp down on all those terrible, negative feelings inside me and continue on. He's just about sheer survival right now, like he's in pure survival mode. Gonna tamp down all those terrible, negative emotions inside me. The part that they cut from the game here is at the end of episode 2, they have to continue escaping the rest of the way out of Boston. In the game, they use the abandoned subway terminals until they get to the woods outside of Lincoln, which is where they're headed, to where Bill lives. The fact that Joel gave her his jacket here to stay warm is also meant to be a sign that he's slowly treating her in a more caring way, like he's being a little bit more thoughtful, even though he's still trying to push her away, as you see at the end of the episode. It's not because he totally hates Ellie or he blames her for Tess's
Thinks
death
of
or
his
anything
daughter when
like
she
that.
sees her.
It's just that he's afraid to get close to other people because ultimately he feels like he's going to lose them and will just make him feel even worse.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hit rock bottom emotionally again. Like, he actually genuinely cared about Tess, and it hurt badly to lose her after losing his daughter. So he doesn't want to go through the pain of that again, and that's why he doesn't want to get close to Ellie, at least right now. But it all goes back to the theme of the episode, that Linda Ronstadt song. And the
At
whole
first, I
idea
thought this
of
guy was gonna
Bill's
backstab
arc
him.
in the series,
I was
and
like,
how he got close
I don't know
to
if I can
Frank,
trust
and how
him.
it ultimately fulfilled him.
Especially when he
was
played the
happy to go
piano
out that
and
way
he was
that
right
did,
behind him. I was
because
like,
Frank
uh-oh.
had enriched his
I thought he
life
was
so
gonna be
much.
like, yeah.
Bill's storyline in the episode, especially the message that he leaves for him, is meant to inspire Joel to get closer to Ellie. Ultimately, it'll be worth it for better and worse. And throughout a lot of these early parts of the series, you see Ellie's influence on him. Like, she's relentlessly positive in the face of all this terrible stuff that's happening to them. Just a lot of her enjoying things in the moment, a lot of the firsts that she has, like seeing the forest for the first time. Like, she's never been camping, never been outside the quarantine zones. She's never been in a car before. So the whole idea is that you see little moments like this throughout the episode,
Yeah, it was
throughout
pretty
the series,
nice,
the first
touching
couple
moments.
of episodes, where Joel slowly starts to act a little bit more like a dad with her. If you zoom in and enhance on her backpack here too, you notice that she has her monster keychain.
Yeah, I
from the
noticed
game,
that from the
little
video
Easter egg.
game.
I don't think that Neil Druckmann has ever explained where the actual monster keychain came from or
pretty
what
cool.
inspired it. It looks like it's either based on Pixar's Monsters, Inc., like Mike Wazowski, or
Wazowski.
the Ugly Dolls line of toys. We might learn
I
more
guess,
facts
yeah, if
about
it was
in the
green, I
flashbacks
guess.
and her origin story when they tell those in future episodes. The reason why she doesn't have the backpack from the games yet, like this is a slightly different backpack, is because she doesn't get that one till much later in the
Hey,
first
there's so
game.
much
we might
details I
also
didn't
see
even
her
think
get that
about
backpack
from the
in
video
a future
game to
episode.
the
Because
live
for the
action
most part,
TV
like,
show.
the
It's
clothes
pretty
that she's
crazy.
wearing, the clothes that Joel's wearing, pretty much everybody else for the most part, are right out of the game. They're meant to be fairly accurate costumes. Later in the episode, Ellie also gets another one of her video game t-shirts. Even during episode 2, the lighter that Tess used to sacrifice herself is right out of the games.
Oh, wow.
Neil Druckmann said that the costume department
Wow,
and the
did not
props
know that.
department paid special attention to that. They would always ask how to make things look more like they did in the game. A lot of their dialogue here is also taken directly out of the game.
I've never been in the woods.
What?
Nothing. It's just... I've never seen anything like this, that's all.
You mean the woods?
Yeah. Never walked in the woods. It's kind of cool.
The reason why Joel is taking them to Bill's is because he thinks that they can get a car there that will take them the rest of the way to Wyoming to Joel's brother. And because of the timing of the episode, when a bunch of the big events wind up happening, at this point, when he's taking them there, he still thinks that Bill and Frank are still alive. The way they timed this, the way the countdown works on the radio, the warning message that goes off, it sounds like they died right before the events of episode 1. But as they start hiking the rest of the way, Joel starts to explain to her that the real danger here isn't so much the infected, it's actually the raiders, the real people.
Yeah,
And that's a big
it's
thing
always
throughout the
like that.
entire
It's
Last
always
of
the
Us
people that
series
make
through
it
the
worse
games.
in the world.
The idea that people are just as bad as the fungus.
Yep.
We will continue to meet very terrible, very bad people as we go along through the series. In fact, Troy Baker, who did the voice of Joel in the games, is actually playing one of the antagonistic characters later in the series. No spoilers about what's going on
shit,
with their
really?
because we will see them in a future episode. But this is Troy Baker from the games.
I did
They also
not
use a lot of
know
Bill and
that.
Frank flashbacks
Interesting.
to show you that sometimes humans can be just as bad as the infected. Like when Ellie finds the bodies next to the downed airplane, he explains that all the people were killed by the military, not because they were infected, but because they didn't have room for them in the quarantine zones. And it was very much shoot first, ask questions later, which is another reference to the death of his daughter. Like she
Wow.
died even though she wasn't infected. Bill makes a lot of references to the government during the episode too, like you shouldn't trust the government, they're all terrible. Turns out he was right. Joel starts referencing people
He
and
was a
things
smart
that they'll
one.
reveal in future flashbacks, like how he got the scar, who Frank is. When they're looking for supplies in the convenience store that Joel keeps stashed, Ellie finds the Mortal Kombat 2
That was
arcade
cool. I was like,
machine.
heck
It's a
yeah,
reference
Mortal
to an
Kombat.
in-game Easter egg for Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, I didn't even know that was
Ellie
in
had
the
a poster of
game.
it on her bed at the beginning of the game.
What?
The friend she mentions who was really into it is
Wow,
Riley, who she's
I
referenced a
didn't
couple
know that
times
was in the
series so
game
far,
of
played
Mortal
by Storm
Kombat
Reed.
2?
We'll see her in future flashbacks. All of
Wow.
her story takes place before Ellie met Joel, so it'll all
Dang,
be
the
dealt with
people
in
that can
flashbacks.
find like
While
Easter
she's
eggs in a video
exploring
game
the
like
store,
that.
she
It's
finds the
crazy.
trapped remains of either the former owner or a fellow survivor who had been infected and trapped there.
This
while
was a
suddenly
creepy
collapsed.
scene from
He's
Ellie.
meant to be in the
I was like,
Chandler
what are
stage,
you
which is what they
doing?
turn into a little while after the initial stage, which are runners. The collapse seemed like it happened a long time ago, but maybe he just didn't turn fast enough because the body couldn't find enough fuel, that the fungus didn't have enough fuel to evolve him into the next state. This whole scene is about her taking her anger out on it, showing that she's not afraid, mostly to reassure
Nah, I don't
herself.
think that's
but
the
also
reason,
as a
like, not
cathartic
afraid.
way to
I
deal
think
with
she
all
was
the
just
really messed up stuff.
a
that's happened to
psycho.
her.
Look at her. Look at her
Even
face.
More messed up stuff that happened in the
She's
flashbacks. that we
creepy.
haven't
It's
seen
like
yet.
it's like
It was less of
she's
her
like
trying
about to
do
go
something good,
insane.
putting it out of its misery, than it was about her finding
weird.
catharsis through it. Also to show you that she's not quite as helpless as she seems. Which also dovetails with the idea that she keeps asking Joel for a gun throughout the episode until she finally finds Bill's gun at the end of the episode. That'll probably come in handy pretty soon. The crashed plane isn't meant to be the same one from episode 1 because that was happening way down in Austin, but it is a callback to that. The whole idea, as Joel is explaining what happened, is that during the chaos, people started turning while all these planes were mid-air, causing most of them to crash all over the world. Joel saying that he knows how to fly is another reference to his history in the military. They also have an Easter egg for Sully's plane from Uncharted in the Last of Us games because Naughty Dog, who make the Last of Us games, also made the Uncharted games. Joel explains the origin of the cordyceps fungus to Ellie, which we saw during the flashbacks in episode 2. And his explanation, which he's just making an educated guess about, is totally correct. The cordyceps was a common fungus that mutated and infected the flour made in the world's largest flour factory in Jakarta and was distributed all over the world, winding up in people's food products. Even though there was that one person that the military lost track of, like, oh, we don't know where that one person went to, and they theoretically went around biting people, and the fungus spread that
It's crazy
way.
because it
It
sounds like
spread
this
across
could be
the world even
possible
faster
because it plays
of
on
the
realism,
flour.
and that's
The
kind
big
of
takeaway
scary.
here is to switch to eating more rice instead of so much bread and flour products. This episode is sponsored by rice.
Oh
Joel
my
also
gosh,
confirms
what a
the
good way to
pancake
freaking
flour
slip
theory
this
from
in.
episode 1. The reason why he, his brother, and his daughter didn't turn like everyone else is because they were out of pancake flour that day, whereas
Yep.
their neighbors had the biscuits, the cookies. He goes on to recall everything that happened that night in 2003 that we saw part of during episode 1. At this point, he's not speculating anymore because he's speaking from experience, like he's recounting things as they happen to him. And even though we're still kind of dealing with a global pandemic in real life right now, everything that's happening in the episode isn't meant to be a reference to that, even if it feels like it. All the stuff
Nah.
with the fungus spreading,
This-
all that
this
crazy
video
stuff
game
was
even-
written
this
more
came
than
out
10
even
years
before the
ago.
pandemic. This
It's
came
just a
out, like,
very
in
dark
2013.
coincidence that we're going through something
So,
similar
yeah, this
in
is
real life
before
right
the
now.
pandemic happened.
Also in the games, the present day is meant to be 2033, not 2023. After Ellie learns about all the extra terrible things that Fedra did, killing all the regular people in addition to the infected, they pan in on the dead bodies of the mother and her baby, flashing back to September 30th, 2003, to show you Bill's origin story and Frank's. In this entire part of the episode, all of these flashbacks are not from the game. This is a big change, but I actually think it's a really good change. And it actually bodes well
It
for
shows
future
how
seasons.
corrupt
a lot of
the
people have
government
problems
is in
with
the
Last
show.
of Us 2 video game
And,
story.
you know,
This means when
going
they
behind
eventually
people's
adapt
back
that
and then
stuff
just
in
killing
future
them off,
seasons, they
where they
can
thinking they're
change
going
it
to a
for
safe
the
zone.
better.
In reality,
The whole
they're
idea
going
in
to
the
their
video
death.
games is they find a
Sucks.
version of Bill, but it's like a much darker version of the character long after Frank has died and has driven him to a very dark place. It's a much more depressing take on this whole encounter that they have in the episode and the message that Bill gives them in the TV version of the episode. In the game, Bill was meant to be a darker mirror for what could potentially happen to Joel if he continued to push people away. But they show you how Bill was a survivalist, and that's part of the reason why he was able to survive the initial outbreak of the fungus. Because his house was essentially
He was
constructed
ready
like
for
a
war.
fortress.
That
He'd
guy
already
had
all kinds
everything.
of defensive
Traps,
measures set up, all kinds
guns,
of weapons, like his gear,
grenades,
his whole shelter
fire.
here, created long
That guy was
before
ready
the
for
fungus
war.
actually happened. He taunts the military, showing you how deeply he mistrusted them when they're looking
Yeah,
for
cameras
all the people
everywhere
in the
too.
town. Turns out pretty smart move on his part, because that whole group that they just drove off with in the military trucks were taken to the field to be killed.
That
Notice
sucks.
that he's wearing a gas mask. In the game, the fungus give off spores that can infect you even after you've killed one of them, so the characters frequently have to run around everywhere wearing gas masks, especially when they're going to new areas. And the first time in the game that you see Bill, he's wearing this mask. The reason they cut the spores out of the show is because they didn't want to have everyone's faces covered all the time, even though Pedro Pascal also plays the Mandalorian and he covers his face all the time, so to make you conceit of the character. The spray paint on the front of his door is from the military just to mark that his house had been checked for people, and that's why the date on here says 9/30 for September 30th. You can see later after the flash forwards that they eventually painted over that. You notice that his first act was to raid the same gas station that Joel just visited with Ellie, where he had stashed all of his stuff, taking as many supplies as he could find: gas, food, anything of use.
That guy was
He
going to
ready go for
freaking,
this.
like,
He was
yeah, shopping
prepared.
spree,
The reason
basically.
he goes to the utility station is to turn the
Yeah,
gas
well,
back
whatever.
onto his
It's
house,
free.
because
No
one
one's
of the
here.
military's first acts would have been
He's
to shut
taking
all that stuff
everything.
down.
Hey, that's
he
a
uses
smart
a
move.
generator for regular power, but he still needs the gas from the normal utility station. The car that he's using to grab all the supplies is also the same car that he winds up giving to Joel and Ellie later in the episode to get the rest of the way to Wyoming. Love the montage of him finishing his preparations too. He creates more traps all around the house, sets up a
It reminded me like
small farm,
Rambo,
arranges
like the
food,
traps he
makes sure
had.
that the area is
He was being
self-sufficient.
smart.
4 years of this
He had a
go
whole
by,
town to
and
himself.
he finds Frank, just a normal human who had stumbled into one of his traps after fleeing the Baltimore quarantine zone after it had fallen to the fungus. When Frank is talking about it, he says it's gone. He means that the fungus, the infected, essentially destroyed the quarantine zone. There is no more quarantine zone in Baltimore. The other 9 people that he was traveling with had died along the way at some point on the way to the Boston quarantine zone. And I love their whole first meeting here. Like, it's just hilarious. Just him trying to figure out what's going on with Bill, and Bill trying to deal with another human. I wonder if Arby's paid them for this product placement here. Arby's has to be one of the most clowned upon food franchises in TV shows. Bill shows him some
Arby's is not
compassion
bad.
and cooks the
I haven't
meal
had
for
it in a
him.
while,
Love
but
that
it's
he has
not,
no
like,
idea
the
what to do with
worst,
all of Frank's
you know?
compliments to his kindness.
I
The
did
Tales
see
of
them
Coffee
mention
music
it,
is
though.
also a reference to Bill and Frank's story together. It was a French opera, and in the story, the protagonist is thematically similar to Bill. Then they whip out the Linda Ronstadt song, Long, Long Time, which is where the episode gets its title from, and they use the lyrics of the song as a metaphor for Bill and
I thought this
Frank's
point right
their
here, he was getting
relationship,
stabbed
as
in
well
the
as
back,
Joel and
stab him in the
Ellie's
back when he was
story.
playing the piano.
It's all
I was
about
like,
thriving,
like, you
taking
should
things in
never
stride,
done that.
abiding
You just
in
met
all,
this
falling
guy.
in love with someone, allowing yourself to care
You know?
about someone else.
But I guess
And
he
that's basically
didn't,
what
so.
these two couples are doing slowly over time. Obviously, Bill and Frank a little bit quicker. Also love the joke about him telling Bill to go take a shower, like, this is all great, love what's going on here, but you stink. Literally, you have not taken a shower in a long time. Go clean yourself. And they confirm a lot of people's suspicions after the game, because the game didn't have any of this stuff. During the game, when you
Yeah, they
meet
changed
Bill,
it up a
Frank
little
is
bit,
already
too.
Dead. He'd killed himself.
Like, he
and
was,
Bill
like,
talks about him
you know,
fondly,
gay,
implying
but they
their
didn't, like, show the
relationship
whole
together.
background
They flash
story,
forward
but
3
that
more
in
years
the-
to
in the-
2010, and they
I'll
show
let you
how
guys know when
Frank
the
started
video's over.
working with more
I'll let you
outsiders
guys
like
know.
Joel and Tess, as Frank started to go crazy from all of Bill's isolationist, paranoid tactics, and as Frank says, making more friends. And it sounds like Frank definitely felt like they were his friends, but at the end of the episode, Bill kind of relents and says, you know what, I wouldn't call you exactly a friend, but you were kind of like a friend. I respect you. And that was meant to be like the highest form of compliment that you get from someone like Bill. You notice when they're having dinner in the yard for the first time, Bill has the gun on them the entire time.
He was ready.
Joel verbally references how similar they are in their personalities, the paranoid personalities. Bill's line here about not needing Joel and Tess complicating his life is important for the future of the series. It's what it's all about. The idea that you're supposed to develop those close bonds with other people, allow them to complicate your lives for better and worse. That's the whole point of being alive. And Joel reluctantly wins him over with the promise of enough material to replace his fences for the rest of his life, appealing to the survivalist instincts in him. Very smart thinking on Joel's part. As they're leaving, Frank also references the radio codes that Joel told Ellie about in episode 1, so they could communicate with each other in secret, where the songs came from. The trouble that Frank also mentions here is foreshadowing for the trouble that they have with raiders soon after this.
Yeah, Joel
which
warned them.
Joel also talks to Bill about, like, there's going to be raiders pretty soon.
He warned
as
them.
well as the trouble at the end of
He
the
said, "I'm willing
episode
to,
where the radio
upgrade your
goes off."
fences," but he didn't
They
want
flash
to.
forward again, 3 more years to 2013. Love his reaction when he finds out that Frank traded away one of his guns. Wait, which one? As if it's one of his children. Like, you've given away one of my children. That's how precious his guns are to him. And then a very short while later, raiders do come to steal their stuff, setting off Bill's traps. He's already firing on them, hitting the crossfire, and when Frank is trying to treat his wound, he thinks he's going to die, so he starts telling Frank all the important things he can think of, like how to survive without him, call Joel, don't live alone, here's where the keys are. But later in the episode, they confirm that all the stuff that you see, the flash forwards, were real. They actually did.
Yeah, they were going fast forward
Meaning that
many
Frank
years.
really
I'm
did
like,
save
Jesus,
Bill's
it went
life,
from
and they continue to
7
grow old
to
together.
10.
They made some
Like,
big
my
changes
gosh.
from the video game storyline in their backstory, but it's similar to some things that happen in the game. In the backstory of the video game, Frank had got infected and killed himself before the infection
Yep.
could take him. Bill wound up surviving and just drove into a very dark place. On the show, Frank basically does the same thing.
They did a
only
romantic
instead of
side
fungus
instead
that
of
took
like
him, it was a
a,
neurological
you know,
condition that was
a
killing
sad,
him.
depressed
And he chose
time
to end
of
his
what the
life
video
before it
game
got
had,
worse, and Bill
basically.
also chose to end his life with him. Even though it's still super dark, it's a much more positive spin on the characters than in the game. Like, the whole episode just felt way more positive, even though there's a lot of really dark stuff that happens. That's why I say there's a lot of hope when we get to season 2, season 3, like future seasons of them making an even better version of The Last of Us 2 storyline. Bill talking to Frank about how he lived a happy life, he's been fulfilled through his relationship with Frank, is meant to be foreshadowing for Joel and Ellie's future father-daughter relationship. Like, Joel will go through a similar character arc in the future. When they're panning around the house, they show you Frank's artwork that he did over the years. This one's of Bill in the chair, this one's of Bill's face. I think this other one is supposed to be of Joel, though, because it's of a younger person. This is also meant to be the last one of Bill that you see in present day, kind of confirming the timeline. Frank's condition has made it hard for him to get around.
They never
hard for him to do
explained
basic
what
tasks,
condition
which
he
is why
had,
comes
though.
to the decision
Like,
to
of
end
him
his life.
passing.
And he creates this
They never
elaborate
explained that.
swan song ending for himself to have one last good day with Bill, then euthanize himself before the disease can get even worse. And as they carry their plan out, they pan around all the locations that were important to their history, like the trap where he met Bill for the first time, the garden that Frank surprised him with 10 years ago. They get married, they have the special dinner, and if you couldn't tell, the food that Bill cooked him is meant to be the exact same meal that he cooked for him the first day that they met. That's why
didn't
Frank
know
was so
that.
surprised and happy about it. Like, oh, it's the same meal that you made me that first time. The first wine that they drink is also meant to be the same wine that they drank on that day. The second bottle of wine is the one that was spiked with the medicine. And if it wasn't clear from the reaction on Frank's face, they kind of talk about it a little bit more after the fact. But when Bill downed his wine in one gulp, he had spiked the entire wine bottle before he poured both glasses. That's why when Frank
Yeah.
asked if his was enough to take care of the job, Bill said that that would be enough to kill a horse because he'd already given him a dose of it in the bottle. But the whole idea here is that Frank says that he lived a life of purpose. He's completely fulfilled. Frank was his purpose, so he doesn't want to continue living without him. When Joel and Ellie arrive, you see the final painting of Bill that Frank had been doing just before they died. The wine bottles on the table, the food that's only
They
slightly
drank that
decomposed,
whole
just
bottle.
to let you know how recently they died. It seems like it's only been a couple days because it's only been a couple days since episode
Jeez.
1. Confirming that they died right before the events of episode 1, just because of when the countdown in the bunker went off. Ellie finds the letter that Bill left for Joel and Tess, because remember, Bill didn't know that Tess died on the way out, and also Joel didn't know that Bill and Frank had died either.
Yep.
And here's one of the other big changes from the video game. So the message that Ellie reads is almost the exact opposite of what Bill tells Joel at the end of their scenes in the game. The letter talks about how he was wrong to push everyone away his whole life. There's always that one person out there worth saving, and for him it was Frank, and it's meant to inspire Joel that Ellie is going to become that person. But obviously, as happy as the episode was, this ending was for them. They found everything that they needed. They also want to remind you how grim and traumatic things are by referencing Tess in the letter. Just reminding Joel why it is that he pushes so many people away. One of the other differences here too is that when they arrive at Bill's in the game, a lot of that part of the game is them going on missions to try and assemble the parts that they need to actually get the car to start. Whereas during the episode, Bill basically just gives them the car and the battery is almost ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They also cut the bloater encounter, which Ellie referenced in episode 2. The infected with extra tough
Yeah, they didn't
eyes
show
that
the
throws
bloater.
floor bombs. Maybe we'll see more bloaters in future episodes.
Yeah.
The reason Joel smiles when he opens the fridge is because he finds the car battery pretty much ready to go. Like, they have to charge it a little bit, which they also kind of have to do in the game, too. They have to charge the battery by getting the car to run.
Yeah.
And he's also smiling looking at the battery because it's a reference back to episode 1. It's the reason why he wound up mixed up with Ellie in the first place over the stolen car battery. They make their plan to go out to Wyoming to Tommy's settlement to check on him and then see if he can help them get Ellie to the other Fireflies, which is also right out of the game. They head there during the game, and we've seen footage of them in the trailers too. Ellie's whole conversation to Joel about Tess, trying to talk about her, goes exactly how
Every
it's
time I
in the
see his
game. Like,
face,
it's
the
all dialogue
brother
taken
Tommy
right out
now,
of the game.
because he played Terminator.
About Tess.
Rule 1, you don't bring up Tess. Ever.
About Tess. I don't even know.
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess.
Just like the video game, it's pretty
Ever.
crazy.
The whole idea is that Joel just hits the pause button on working through his feelings, like, we will not be dealing with anything, there's no therapy going on in this episode. Push that sadness deep down inside you. When they go down to the bunker, the song that's playing is Erasure's Chains of Love, which is a reference to the song that was playing over the radio in episode 1, the sign that there was trouble coming. And Joel confirms the timeline, explaining that the countdown was set to play this in case he didn't reset it every day. Meaning that Bill and Frank died just before the events of episode 1. The box of women's
Oh,
shirts
damn.
that they find is where Ellie gets her t-shirt, which is also right out of the games. I think in this context, they're meant to have gotten this box of women's shirts, even though there are no women that lived here, from scavenging around the town. Ellie finds Bill's handgun, finally getting a gun that she's been asking for this whole time. I think this is meant to be the one that he always carried on his hip.
Yep.
Pretty safe to assume that gun is going to come in handy eventually. When they take off, Joel getting the seatbelt for her.
Yeah,
is
'cause
in,
she didn't know
also
what a
being
seatbelt
kind of
was.
like
That
a
was her
dad.
first time being
A
in
lot
the
of dad
car.
energy from
She was,
Joel
like,
at the end
so
of the
happy,
episode.
excited.
Going on a road trip, gotta play a mixtape. She finds the mixtape that Frank made for Bill, and the song playing on it is the Linda Ronstadt song. Like, that was meant to be Bill and Frank's song. That's why he put it on the mixtape. Like, this is our special song. The window that the camera ends on is the bedroom window where they died, because he said in the letter that he left the window open to keep the house from stinking up. And like I said, as they play the song over the end of the episode, as they drive away, the lyrics of the song are also meant to be a metaphor for the future of Joel and Ellie's relationship, finding someone else to care about. Probably going to go down as one of the best episodes of the series, like I said, so it'll be interesting to see if they can top this later this season. If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't mention,
Yeah,
in
you
the
spotted
video,
a
write
lot
down below
of
in the
like
comments.
references
My
and Easter
episode
eggs in
4
this
trailer
video that
will
I have
post
seen.
next, and
I
my
did not
full
know there was that
episode
many.
4 video will post next
pretty
Sunday
cool.
after they release it. Congratulations, Midori Bushi. You're the giveaway winner from my Last of Us video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for the Last of Us Episode 4 trailer
All right,
video. I'll
that's
update
it.
the link as soon as I post the video. And click here for all my Last of Us episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
All right, so that's the end of the video. Okay, I have a couple things that I want to say. So when as soon as they found out that they both passed, and now it's Joel and Ellie. If I was there in that situation, right? They have a whole town to themselves. The whole place is, fortified. They got freaking security cameras. They got booby traps. They got all the weapons, all the freaking gas, and all the food. And you live in a big town. I would have said, all right, Ellie, well, we're going to go get my brother. We're going to bring him to this town with the people that he has that we can trust. Just start a freaking, a new life, because you're living good. You got everything there. I wouldn't even leave that town. Freaking Bill made it a freaking like an amazing place. I would have stayed there in my opinion, but they had to go because they got to continue the story of what the actual game was. So now I think we're going to an episode of Joel finding Tommy at this point. And if I do recall, I don't even want to give spoilers because if you guys haven't played the game, but yeah, there's a difference. Like I said before in the video, of the video game version is where Bill, well, yeah, he was still gay, but when he found his partner, he hung himself. And I guess in the game, Frank didn't like that Bill was always in his own bubble of town. He wanted him to get out more. He wanted him to explore, but he didn't want to because he knows it's not safe out there. So Frank eventually, as soon as he got out, and he even warned Frank, saying like, if you go out there, you're gonna get bit and you're gonna eventually die. And that's what happened. He even wrote a note that how much he hates Bill. Frank did. Frank said how much like he hates Bill, and you know, basically he doesn't give a crap about him. But obviously, you know, they had like a love and hate relationship, and that's what made it different from the show. They made it like more romantic, more they actually care for one another, and they actually were happy together. I was like, okay, so this is the difference between the game and the show. So hopefully, like, there's this one big thing that happens in Last of Us 2, and if you know what I'm talking about, you already know what I'm talking about. So I hope they change that. If they can change something like this, they can definitely change something like that. And because I love these characters of Joel and Ellie, and I just want to keep on going. And even if they go further than of the actual original video game, maybe they can make another story as well. And I can't wait. The next episode is in like what, a couple days. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. And and I can't wait because I'm gonna be posting every video of a reaction of the ending explained. So you're always gonna look forward to that. Well, if you enjoy my video, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, post notifications, get all my videos up to date. See you in the next video, and peace.